Hello everyone, welcome to Technology Begins. In this video, we will learn about inheritance in a Python. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is whenever you want to use your parent class property into the child class, or whenever we want to use the base class property into the derived class. Okay, so that time we can use this inheritance concept. So how we can define that concept in Python? So let's see by creating the class. So first of all, we will create the class parent. This is our base class, and as we know the class syntax, class name colon, and we will write all our code inside of the class block. After that, we will create the init method or constructor, and we will define the self keyword. This is mandatory while we are creating the any method inside of the class. Self keyword is mandatory. Okay, otherwise you will get an error. And we will define self dot name, which is John, right? And other method I am defining is get age, and we need to write self keyword, and I am returning that 50. So this is the base class or parent class which I have created, and this class is containing one constructor and one extra method which is getAge. Let's write child class. So this is child, and we are creating the constructor. Okay, so self dot name is equal to Alex. Okay, so here we have created the two class, one is parent class and child class. But how we can inherit this parent class into the child class? So you like this, you can inherit the child class from the parent class. Okay, so here we have inherited the parent class into the child class. So this is basically a normal inheritance, and now we can access the properties of the parent class by creating the object of child class. So how we can do that? So for that, object is equal to child, as we know how to create the object of the class name and parenthesis, right? This class name and parenthesis, and let's print object dot get age. So this, and whenever we want to access the any methods of our parent class from the child class, then we can simply write like object dot get age, because we have inherited the parent class into the child class. So whenever we want to perform the inheritance, then we can simply pass the whatever class name into the parameter of the derived class or child class. Okay, sorry, like this. So you can access the parent class properties or methods from the child class object using like this. Okay, and then if you want to access the name of your parent, then you cannot access directly using the name keyword, name value, which we have defined inside of this init method. Okay, that will give you the Alex itself. For that, we need to make the call explicitly. So first, as that is parent class, and we make the call for init method explicitly, and after that we need to remove this self dot name. Why we need to remove this, I will tell you that. Okay, we need to pass the self keyword. Okay, we don't need to forget that self keyword, like this John. Okay, so now what we have done over here is we have made the explicit call for init method of the parent class, so we can access the whatever variables are available inside of the constructor, right? And if we are doing this self dot name is equal to Alex after the uh, parent call parent method call of constructor, then they will return us the Alex itself. Okay, why? Because we have overwritten the name after the parent call of constructor, right? So first we have called this constructor of parent class and it has set the name to John. After that we have overwritten the self.name to Alex. I hope you have understanding this these terms, because whenever we are not writing this, that time it is returning as the John, because we are calling the constructor of parent method and that set the John value to the name variable. Okay, and now we are overwriting this name with Alex after the constructor call of parent method. That's why they will return as the Alex. Okay, so this is how you can make the parent method constructor call explicitly. Okay, and what if you don't want to make the call like this? Then we can use the super method. So what is super method? Super method is used to uh, make the call on your parent class and access the properties and values and methods of your parent class into the child class. Okay, that is something similar as we have written for constructor call of parent class. Okay, so whenever we are doing super dot init, so this is same as like this, like this, super dot init, like this, parent dot init self. Okay, so but we don't need to define if we want to call the parent class and we have only one parent class is inherited into the child class. So super class is by default understood that the what is the super class for this child class, so that is the parent class itself. If there is a multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance are available, then we need to define that into the super class. So this is basically like this: super child self. Okay, so currently meaning of this super statement is like this: what is the super class of the child, which is parent class, because we have inherited whatever class is inherited into the child class, that is the super class of that child class or derived class. Okay, understanding this? So if we are not writing like this, then it will by default understanding that parent is super class of the child class. So these both terms are same, this parent dot init self and super dot init self. Okay, and if we are removing this, uh, then yeah, and for init method we don't need to write self keyword, because that will by default uh, calling our child class and then child super class, which is nothing but parent class. So that self keyword is derived into the init class because of the super method. Okay, and if you are not defining super method, then you need to pass the self keyword into the init method as we have seen. So this is how you can use the super method for use the parent class properties or methods into the child class. And what if we want to, if we have one method called def get age into the child class. Okay, which is nothing but 15. So we have same name methods in child class and parent class. So which method will called, and how we can call this method from child class to parent class. So whenever I am writing object dot get age, then which method will call? So this will call the child class get age method itself. Okay, like 15 it is written. If we want to access the child class, sorry, parent class method from the child class object, okay, what is the meaning of that? We want to access the child class from the child class, we need to access the parent class get age method. So how we can do that? If they are same name method are available, okay, and their parameter are also same, so this is called method overriding. So whenever there is in child class and parent class having the same name method with the same parameters, then that is called the method overriding. Okay, so how we can identify that? We need to access the parent class method and we need to access the child class method. So we need to make the one function call explicitly for parent class. So we are making that call inside of the child class self, and then what we will return is super method of, super method is basically representing that the super class of our child class, that is nothing but our inherited class, which is nothing but parent. Okay, super dot get age. So this will uh, define as the super is nothing but our parent class, and that will call the get age method of our parent class. So this is how we can use the super method to call the parent class method from the child class object. Okay, let's write another int and get parent age. So this is how you can access the parent age from the child class. Okay, used by adding one explicit call whenever method overriding is available in your inheritance. And there are two different inheritance also available, and many other inheritance are available, but we will see a few of them. First one is multi-level inheritance. So what is multi-level inheritance? So multi-level inheritance means whenever your class or derived class is inherited from another class, and that another class is also inherited from another class, like this. When we have one class which is class grandparent, and there is one init method and self dot name is equal to Bob. Okay, and we are also defining same method get age, and which is 80. Okay, and we are inheriting the parent class from the grandparent. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? This is basically a multi-level inheritance. So what is multi-level inheritance? So our child class is inherited from parent class, and that parent class is inherited from grandparent class. So this is the basically a multi-level inheritance, because level by level we are inheriting the class. Okay, so this is called multi-level inheritance. Okay, and what if we want to access the name of our grandparent from the child class, then we need to make super call into our parent. Okay, why into parent? Because we are accessing our grandparent using parent, and we are accessing our parent through the child class. Okay, so where if we want to go and access the grandparent properties, then we must first go to the parent class, and then we can access the properties of the grandparent. Okay, so that's why we need to make the init method call into the parent, and we will, if we are running this, and let's comment out this first and print the name object dot name. This is why this is happening, because this is why overwriting is happening for name, because every class init method having the same variable name. If you are having a different name, then you can access without overwriting. Okay, that is over here is object, okay, Bob. So this is how we can access the grandparent properties from the child class itself. So using child, we have called the super, we have make the super method call or call to the parent class, and from parent class we have make the super method call to the grandparent class. Okay, I hope you have understood the concept of super method now, because super method is used to access the properties of the inherited class. Okay, and how we can get the access of our grandparent age from the child class itself. So we need to make the one explicit call. Okay, get grandparent age and return super dot get age. So what will this statement will return us? If we are calling the get grandparent age method from child class, then it will return us the 50, which is nothing but parent age. Why? Because we are calling the super method, and this inside of the child class, our super method or super class is parent class, right? Because for the child class we have inherited the parent class, so that's why whenever we are using the super method, then we can only have access of parent class method. Okay, so what if we want to get the access of grandparent class methods? Then we can use super, we need to define a class of parent. So what is the super class of parent? So that is the grandparent, and self keyword, as I have shown you. So basically this super class, super method which is written inside of the child class, which is nothing but like this, child self. Okay, so we can access the properties of the parent class, but what is the super class or super method from the parent class, or what which class we have inherited into the parent class? That is nothing but grandparent. Okay, so we have to access the property of grandparent, then we must need to access the parent class, and we need to find the super class of our parent. Okay, so this is what it is defining. So we have access the super class of parent and get the age from that. So we have now access to the grandparent properties, so that is nothing but 80. Okay, so this is how you can access this. And what if you are using get parent age? So that is nothing but 50. Okay, so this is how you can differentiate the method call which is having the same name in every class which are inherited. Okay, so you must need to use the super method to make the call to your inherited class. So this is the example of the multi-level inheritance, because every class is inherited into the one class and that one class is inherited into the another class. Like we have child class in which we have inherited the parent class, and in parent class we have inherited the grandparent class. So this is level by level inheritance is done over here. And other one is multiple inheritance. So what is multiple inheritance? When multiple base class are inheriting to the one derived class. Okay, so whenever we are inheriting our derived class from the multiple base class, okay, so which is called multiple inheritance. How multiple inheritance is working? So we have one grandparent and parent class, and now these both class are inheriting into the child class. So our child class is inherited the grandparent and parent, both the class. Okay, like this. So this is called multiple inheritance, where these two base class are inheriting into the one child class or one derived class. So let's see what is the difference of the in the method called while we are using the parent and grandparent into the inherited into the child class. Okay, let's run this program. So this is basically giving us the, we have defined the child, and that's why it is giving us the parentage method. Okay, and what if we are using this, that is giving us the 80. Okay, this, why this is giving us the perfect result? Because we have defined our class and superclass in particular order of in order how method is inheriting. Okay, so how you can check our methods are inheriting or our method are inheriting in which order? Okay, so for that we can use this variable print child dot mro is method resolution order. Okay, so method resolution order is basically defining how your inheriting methods are uh, using while we are creating the child class object. Okay, let's see. So this is how your inheritance is working. So first of all, there is a child class, and from child class there is the what is the super class of child class is parent, and parent class uh, what is the super class of parent is grandparent class. Okay, so whenever you are calling any method from the child, then it will access the parent class method, and through parent class we can access the method of grandparent class. So this is nothing but method resolution order, and in this order you can access the properties of the inherited class. Okay, so this you need to uh, make sure about that. So what if I am going to do grandparent and parent? Okay, so this method resolution order is depends on in which order you are writing your inherited class into the derived class. Okay, so let's see now. So that is giving us the error. Why? Because our method resolution order is, you can see over here before the error, is like this. So whenever we are using the child class, that's now its uh, super class is grandparent. Okay, it depends on in which order you have defined your inherited class into the child class. So now our child class superclass is grandparent, and our super and grandparent superclass is now parent. Okay, but what we are doing over here is we are writing like this. We are finding the parent class uh, superclass of parent. We are finding over here is superclass of our parent, but there is no any superclass for our parent, right? Because this our parent class is now the only class at the last. This is the base class. Okay, that is not inheriting from anything, any other class, right? So this according to this method or resolution order, there is no super class for parent, so that's why it is giving us the error. So whenever you are using this type of order while inheriting the class, then you must need to use this grandparent, and if you are not using this grandparent, then that is also fine, because our child class is by default superclass is now grandparent class, so you can directly access the get age method of the grandparent class. Okay, so we don't need to define this. Okay, because we have found the superclass of our grandparent, which is nothing but parent according to the method resolution order, right? I hope you are getting this. So how you can uh, use this the method to get the grandparent age is, now you don't need to define any class inside of the super. Okay, because we are directly inheriting from the grandparent class, and if you want to get the age of parent class, then or we want to get the age of our parent, then we must need to define like this grandparent. Okay, because our superclass of grandparent is now parent. Okay, so we are going from child to grandparent, and then we can access the property of parent. So for accessing that property, we are using the super method called like this. Super class of grandparent is parent, and we are accessing the get method of that. Okay, let's run this, and before that let's print the get parent age and run this. As you can see, that is 50. Okay, so this is how you can get the method resolution order, and you can access the properties of your inherited class. So you must need to make sure about your method resolution order while using the super method. Okay, so you can get the idea where you need to make the call. Okay, and from which class to which class you can access the methods, otherwise you will get an error. So this is the multiple inheritance, and I hope you have understood the concept of inheritance, multiple inheritance, and multi-level inheritance and super method. And thank you. See you in the next video.